Hello. OpenAI right now is the undisputed leader in the chatbot race. So, one of the strengths of ChatGPT is the ability for it to create um, many types of content. So, here I asked it to create a shopping list for a luncheon, right? And it gives me a great variety of information. However, we must understand that just because ChatGPT is ahead in the race doesn't necessarily mean that it will win. Because let's try and take a look here. So, if we go back to the first browser war, right, we can clearly see here there were two main rivals, Netscape and Internet Explorer, that was released by Microsoft in August 1995. Netscape was released in December of 1994. Before that, the main browser was Mosaic. But this browser, Netscape, clearly um, took over as the main browser on the internet. But if we take a look at the charts, we can clearly see here that Netscape was the dominant browser in about 1996, but Internet Explorer quickly took over by the year 2000 and would dominate the internet for the next 12 years until the rise of Google Chrome. So Netscape really a product of the late 90s. Hardly anybody really remembers using it these days amongst the younger generation. The only people who really remember Netscape at all are people who, you know, um, you know, are Gen Xers, honestly, at this point. I mean, it it is the first browser war, and it's hardly even remembered these days. Um, I mean, we have to understand that Netscape really was a browser that was about, you know, it was the little guy versus the big guy. It was David versus Goliath. And, David didn't win against the Goliath that was Microsoft. No matter what Netscape did, Microsoft would always have more resources at its command. You see, this is a chart of how much, market share that, Netscape had at the time in 97. But you can clearly see that within a couple years, and the inflection point here is 1998, which is right around the time of the US government versus Microsoft antitrust lawsuit and trial. Um, but the thing is that, you know, Netscape really was a product of the late 90s. Even though there were still people using it in the 2000s, its moment of glory was in 95, 96, 97. But after that, it lost all its popularity and was really um, pretty much, it was literally being destroyed by Microsoft. As we can clearly see, in 1997, even with my Internet Explorer 2.0 and then 3.0 in August 1996, Netscape still had a considerable amount of market share. This is about 2 years after the release of Netscape 1.0. But however, 1997 was the pivotal year of the browser wars, and um, it began dropping and dropping, and then within about a year's time, we're getting really close. And then by the time we get to December 1998, Internet Explorer has beaten Netscape. So within a span of 4 years, Netscape was beaten. So what does this say about ChatGPT? Will ChatGPT suffer the same fate as Netscape? Will Elon Musk beat this company, OpenAI? It's difficult to say. At this current juncture, it's very difficult to say. Is OpenAI's ChatGPT really the equivalent of a web browser? Well, in my opinion, it kind of is. But there is it's difficult really to say what exactly. I think that Microsoft has gone on really supporting you know, they've gone on to support OpenAI. So I think that OpenAI is a lot more, has many advantages compared to Netscape. One of the problems that Netscape really had was Netscape was kind of in a independent situation. It wasn't embedded within the operating system. You had to download the software from the website. And because you had to do that, that was an extra step. You know that people, when it comes to computers, especially ordinary people, they're not willing to make the effort. This is one of the reasons that Linux is, which is a great operating system, is not as popular as Windows, because you actually have to have actual skills to use Linux. So because of that, I believe that OpenAI's ChatGPT will probably not suffer the fate of Netscape because it's much more integrated into Windows. However, there is still the possibility that it could end up like Netscape, and Microsoft could possibly decide to switch over to Elon Musk's AI system. However, I find this hard to really believe, considering that they spent billions of dollars acquiring, well, not acquiring, but essentially working out a deal with OpenAI. And because of that, it's really, there is a possibility that, you know, OpenAI becomes Netscape. I highly doubt, though, that OpenAI's, ChatGPT becomes Internet Explorer and then it dominates for over a decade or more. I don't believe that it's like Amazon where, it's like an open space and then they grab that space and they control it for decades and decades, creating a monopoly. I honestly believe that it's going to be a much different type of battle between these chatbots. But there's also another player in this war, and that is Google. Google's AI system is in many ways behind the times. It is not as efficient. It does have some advantages in that it is integrated with some of their visual search engines. However, Google is definitely losing some of its top talent to Elon Musk and Sam Altman's OpenAI. This is not to say that Google is kind of behind the times. Why do I say this? Well, because they were focusing more on essentially refining their search engine rather than doing chatbots and generative AI. One of the things that Google doesn't have right now is it doesn't have an art generating AI system. Now, it may release one, but it currently does not have one. So Google could be a kind of another player in this chatbot war we have. But I think the real threat, and the reason why I say that, why is Elon Musk's, you know, XAI, why is this more of a threat? Why is it more of a threat? Well, I think the reason why that Elon Musk's OpenAI, Grok, as it's called, why is it more of a threat? Well, I think the reason why is because Elon Musk actually has the resources to fund a project like this. He has the money, he's the visionary, he's willing to take risks. Unlike a lot of people in American culture today, he's willing to work hard to actually accomplish something. So, my general viewpoint is that, you know, this guy, Elon's XAI is probably going to be the main competitor to ChatGPT, not Google Bard, because the thing we have to remember is that Google Bard and ChatGPT operate within a political mentality, which is all about, you know, really restricting people's kind of creativity in favor of kind of conformity and this idea that we need to be protected from dangerous thoughts and we need to be, constantly censoring everything. And essentially, we can only use ChatGPT really for office work. We're not really using it for creativity. And the reason why I'm saying you can't really use it for creativity is because, there's so much censorship. But, you know, maybe, his XAI program will help to, you know, make um, AI more palatable to the general public rather than being something that they have to be afraid of. And this is very important. So, my general viewpoint is that there is a there is a great opportunity for Elon Musk to really there is a great opportunity for him to really take over this market with something that isn't necessarily so unrestricted in its ability to create content, but also something that people can trust more because it's him, not somebody else. And because Elon Musk seems like a man of the people, to be honest, I honestly think that this is going to be one of the biggest competitors to ChatGPT, mainly because of Elon Musk himself, and also because that it will provide people with the creativity that they really want to see out of an AI, rather than something that's essentially that's censoring everything that they find controversial. And while there may be limitations on what someone can do with the platform, I think that his AI will be a lot more reasonable at allowing people to create all kinds of works, ones that may harm other people emotionally or whatever, but they are representations of the human mind and how we think rather than something to be afraid of. So I believe that Elon Musk definitely is going to be the man who really will be competing with ChatGPT. Google Bard essentially is a second fiddle. It doesn't really do anything really different. And as long as it has lots of censorship and manipulation, it won't be as effective because you have to get right wing people on board to be willing to support such a platform in their lives. So I believe that, the chatbot wars have begun, and I think I'm rooting for Elon Musk. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe.